Okay, we're live. Danielle from Fertile Spirit back here with Erin from Fertile Hope Yoga. And we're just here to check in with you guys and answer some questions. And I always like to kind of do these because it reminds me to land back in. And I was calling this the fertile mindset. And I think sometimes it just takes a few minutes of holding space together to be reminded of the things that we know on a much deeper level that it's so easy for us to just jump into the day and forget. And I think these things are they keep us rooted and grounded and in the space of possibility. So
yeah, we're not immune to life, right? I mean, we are here to guide others and to support mental, emotional health, but at the same time, we have the same life stuff. So I mean, and it's easy to tell somebody to do something or share, but to practice it, right, is okay, we're human too. We need support and everything. So it's just nice to connect with you, Danielle, and then connect with everybody and answer some questions. I got some questions.
Woohoo! And if anyone has a question that's related to mind, body, spirit, or emotional health, or yoga, or anything in that realm, feel free to put it in the chat. And we're going to hop over to Instagram after this too. But, we're here. And Erin, do you want to just do a quick recap for people who might be new to this of just about Fertile Hope Yoga? And I can say something about the Fertile Spirit so people know.
Yeah, sure. So Fertile Hope Yoga is kind of a branch out of CNY Fertility. I also work full-time at CNY Fertility. See, I was doing outreach today, so I've got my CNY Fertility shirt on. But it's basically an outgrowth of a program, mind-body program that I used to run in person out of the Rochester office. That's where I live, in Rochester, New York, and brought it online. So now it's an all online platform where it's kind of collectively, we do meditation and yoga and group circles and lots of different ways to connect as peers. And but what's nice is that it's all online. So anybody, as long as you have internet and a device, you can hop on and join us.
Great. And I'm Danielle. I'm the founder and director of the Fertile Spirit, which is a patient support program for CNY fertility clients, as well as anyone really going through a fertility journey. And we offer one-on-one coaching and doulas for really any aspect of your fertility journey, whether you're just embarking on it or you're going through your third or fourth round of IVF or you're newly pregnant. So we have people to meet you where you are, including couples coaching, functional kind of wellness and hormone balancing, nutrition. And we're starting a membership program as well, which will be complimentary for CNY clients for the first 3 months. And there'll be groups that are led by a trained coach, and we'll do mindfulness and we'll just process what's going on in a really safe, held space. So more info on that to come. But basically, Erin and I are here to hold the torch, so to speak, for you guys as you're going through this. Yeah. So we're going to get to one of these questions.
Sure. Okay, so first question. My biggest challenge right now is waiting for the donor egg process to start. I have diminished ovarian reserve and cannot use my own eggs to conceive, so I have to wait for a donor, and that donor may not be ready for a while now. In the meantime, I'm a bit lost because for the first time in over a year, I'm not undergoing some kind of fertility treatment, IUI, IVF, etc. Have all failed because I have too few eggs. The waiting is pretty tiring. Well, yes, the waiting. It is one of the most challenging parts. I see it as actually one of the biggest opportunities anyone has, though, being in the wait, especially in between treatments, or that's when you can do some really, really, really good work to nourish your body, to heal, to process, to reclaim joy in your life if you feel like that has been elusive. I talk all the time with my Fertile Hope Yoga members about like, you have a plan right now. The plan is doing the internal work and some of the sorting. And, you know, that's sometimes the hardest work too. Sometimes the easiest part is like having everything scheduled for you and knowing when you have to, I mean, that can be stressful too, right? Like the timeliness of everything and getting the shots and everything, but it's kind of all scripted for you, right? When you're in this in between phase, we'll call it, kind of, it can be really easy to not feel grounded and feel like you're not being productive. But to me, that's like the time that can actually give you the best preparation for whatever is going to come next. I don't know. Yeah. What do you think, Danielle?
Yeah, I mean, I can see all of that. I think that I just want to say hi to Jamie. She's saying she's triggering tonight, IUI tomorrow, second round. Sending you good energy. So I'm thinking about this idea of the semblance of control, and that when we have things to do, because we have things to do and we can be active, we think, it kind of tricks our brains into thinking that we have control, right? Okay, so I have this tomorrow, or I have to take these meds, or what, even if it's not about going through fertility treatments, even if it's just about like giving yourself something to do when you're anxious, can make you feel like you're not helpless to whatever might happen next. But I think one of the things to remember too, and this might make some people more anxious, but that it's all an illusion. Like, we're never really totally in control. Like, we are kind of living in a state of, some would call it a state of grace or a state of surrender. Or I think one of the best ways to encounter the unknown is with curiosity and compassion. So really noticing what is coming up for me, and rather than just going into the fear or having a judgment about it, really meeting yourself with like, whoa, I'm noticing this in myself, and I'm feeling it in my heart's beating, or like my stomach is so tight and it's really uncomfortable, but like, what is this feeling? What is this about? And then like finding ways to process it. That might mean going for a walk, laying on the earth, journaling, moving your body through yoga or something, or calling your best friend and saying like, I'm really scared right now, and just letting it move through you. But rather than trying to shut it down, just kind of like owning that feeling of being in the unknown, and like you said, using it as an opportunity for growth.
Yeah. I mean, that whole balance between, taking action, like actual, like checklist, cross it off action, and surrender is a really delicate balance, especially in this process. So where do we surrender, or, versus take action? I also like to think of, like, to your point about self-care, the to-do list just can look different when you're in the wait, right? It is like, maybe all the things that you mentioned, right? Like some of the things that you haven't had time for processing, or take that trip, or take that class, or call that friend that maybe, or that you haven't had time to, or join a program in the Fertile Spirit or the Fertile Hope Yoga, where there's tons of other people in the wait, and will get you and understand and help you unload some of those emotions that may have built up. There's no way, especially this person who wrote in said she's been doing, multiple cycles that haven't worked in the way, the outcome that she had hoped for. So that's a lot, I call doing like 2 IVFs back to back. That's like marathon style.
Yeah.
Like 3, that's like Ironman. Like, and if you're not like taking intentional breaks, it's gonna build up. I mean, even the impacts of the medications. I mean, the medications are leaving your body. It can be a huge crash, mentally, emotionally. It's just a big ask of your body. So I would just maybe suggest like reframing this to, you're not, like not necessarily waiting, right? But
Right.
embracing what you can do now, which is a lot of what is not available to you when you are in a cycle, because you are so involved, right?
Yeah.
It's just the work that's, isn't necessarily in our culture, especially, it's the work that's not necessarily like celebrated or even prioritized. I mean, it's why we have a huge like mental health stigma and things like that, because it's not prioritized or celebrated when we take these time or whatever we need. So
Yeah. I mean, it's, I hear that, and I just think too of like being in that space of the in between. And if there are any feelings too, like feelings about the grief or the frustration that the other cycles didn't work, or okay, I am going to use a donor, and like also using this time as an opportunity to kind of work through any of those feelings, because if you are going to be welcoming in this potential of a new pregnancy with the donor egg, right, like as much as we can, we want to process what has happened so that we're making space for what is to come. So like this is a huge opportunity and a time for like going through it. And I really say like there are no bad feelings. So if you have feelings about moving to a donor, like that is totally normal and part of the process. And to give yourself the space to feel that, whatever it is, and again, let it move through you. I say like emotions, it's like food. Like we have to digest it and metabolize it, and then we have to like let go of it because we don't want to let them get stuck.
yeah.
I just want to share. Lisa wrote, and also Ashley Lynn, I see you have your first IUI tomorrow, and so also sending you really good positive vibes. And I just want to read that Lisa said, just did back to back on the struggle bus, thinking of a break this cycle, but now I'm filled with fear of a break at 43. So I think that's a really valid fear that that people can have, especially when we feel this like pressure cooker of time, and so many people do in this this kind of phase of life that we're going through. So again, how can we realize that taking a break actually might be in our best interest, because maybe there's some unresolved stuff, whether that's physical or emotional, that we can use this time to work through. That just because we're not like taking more meds and triggering again, like that there's actually a lot that's going on with our bodies that might be helping the body get back into balance, or processing some some stuff you might not even have been aware of, or rebalancing your hormones, or taking better care of your body, or sleeping better. All these things you can do so that the next time you're ready for it, you're in an even better place. I love Jennifer Waters says, oh gosh, what did she say? We are not our numbers. We are not our numbers. We are not our numbers. And I think that that's like a mantra of whether that's your age number or your AMH number or your FSH number. There are so many stories of people who just defied their numbers, and we get so stuck in the comparing with other people of like, well, she was this age, and it's like your 43 is not someone else's 43, it's yours, and what you do with it is yours. Yeah. Do you have any thoughts about that, Erin?
Yeah, I mean, age-related fears, like you said, are super common. I mean, it's true. As we get older, our bodies are changing, and what's possible is also changing. What I also know is that if, like as you said, Lisa, like yes, back to back is so hard. I mean, you just ran a marathon of cycles. That's it. You just did amazing, amazing work, and your body needs to recover. That's part of the process. Like we wouldn't ask somebody to run a marathon without some recovery period. That recovery time, that recovery work is just as essential for that person as the actual showing up and doing, being in the race, if you will. This is not a race, but it is a process. And breaks are an essential part. And, sometimes even getting some space and some perspective can help even kind of calm that anxiety too, right? When we're having anxiety about anything, usually it's emotion, it's all emotion driven stuff. So we can work on that. You can work on that with a coach. You can work on that in group. You can work in that with support for sure. And it is a fear, and that's okay. We all have them, but we don't need to necessarily lead with that fear, right? The fear, we lead with our hearts is what I always recommend anyways. Lead with our hearts, lead with our gut. And the fears, is there. Think it. Thank you. Thank you for working to protect me. And, but I have all these other desires and goals, and the fear is not going to lead. So, yeah.
One other thing I want to also mention, and this is, I might do like a separate live just on this, but there's a self-inquiry practice called the work, where we investigate our thoughts, our negative or limiting beliefs. And it's a way of really kind of noticing how a thought that we have, like, oh my God, if I wait 6 more months, it's going to be too late for me. And then we sit with that thought. We notice what that does, the anxiety that it might create, the way that we treat ourselves during the day, or that we interact, or that we isolate when we have that thought. And then if you can imagine that thought didn't exist, if it just didn't exist, that in 6 months, it's going to be too late for me. Who would you be without that thought? Who would you be if that thought just didn't exist? And if you turn the thought around, you find the inversion of this negative thought. And we all have a whole spectrum of negative thoughts. In 6 months, it's going to be exactly the right time for me. In 6 months, it's going to be the best outcome. And it's not to say that that's definitely the truth or the other one's the truth, but just noticing how when you sit with the inverse of the thought and you let that lead, how it just changes every aspect of your experience and your day. So really trying to just notice where the negative thoughts come in and just question them, and just try on the inverse and see how that feels. And we can't know if any of it's true. Like, we can't know. So being that the state of being in the unknown, while it's very scary, it's also incredibly liberating for us, and it gives us a lot. So, yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of inverse thoughts, I have a free affirmation deck on my website. If you go to Fertile Hope Yoga, there's a free affirmation deck. It pretty much takes any kind of fear that is possible when you're going through this process or pregnancy loss, and presents you with the inverse upfront. And so you can try it on, practice it. It may not feel all that comfortable at first, or it may not even feel like might feel like almost like forcing it. You're like, because your body's like having this like visceral reaction to it. Like, no, that couldn't be. But I'm telling you, after a while, when you keep leading with that and your body will start, it's like, oh, okay, maybe, right? Like, and so that could be a helpful tool as well.
Yeah, that's great. And just to kind of piggyback on that thought, we had Amanda Ehrman on last week, and she's one of our coaches, and she's a certified clinical hypnotherapist. And she was talking about how our conscious mind is only 10% of our brain, and the unconscious or subconscious is 85 to 90% of our mind, of our brain. And so this is why things like positive affirmations work, because they are a signal to the unconscious, to that 85 to 90%, that there is this potential and this possibility. So even though trying on an affirmation might feel kind of like icky or like inauthentic in the moment, it's actually helping to write a new script that then can start to kind of like percolate and grow in your unconscious. And like, this then affects so many things, all of the systems in your body, your nervous system, your hormone balance, all these things. So it's not just it's not just the touchy-feely stuff. It actually has, it's all touchy-feely stuff, but it has an impact on your physiology as well. So
yeah,
keep that in mind.
Our thoughts are travel through our body with neurotransmitters, and those neurotransmitters, when we have a thought, literally touch every cell of our body, every cell. So that means one thought is going to impact everything. So it does make a difference. And that's the whole importance of the mind-body connection, and why this work is sometimes the hardest work. And it usually is the most important work.
Yeah. So, Erin, is there anything else you want to add, or should we jump on over to Instagram? What do you think?
Yeah, let's go jump over to the CNY Instagram. So if you all want to hop over there, or if you want to, you can always reach out to us directly too, if you have your own questions or anything. I'm Erin at Fertile Hope Yoga, and Danielle, where can they contact you?
Yeah, is it just fertilehopeyoga.com? I'll add it in the chat. Our website.
It's just Erin at Fertile Hope Yoga if anyone wants to have a private message or conversation. And then put yours too. And then just in case, it's hard to talk about some of this stuff publicly, and especially on Facebook.
And Erin and I are basically planning to be here every month. We'll see. Basically, like the second week of every month, and we're taking your questions. So we'll keep them totally anonymous. But if you would like either of us or both of us to weigh in, like, you can always email us during this coming month, and we can answer your questions next time around. So we're here as a resource. Please use us. Please reach out. There's so much. You're not alone. Yeah. Thank you. And good luck to everybody who has transfers and things like that over the coming days and weeks. So, okay. See ya.